Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of DIY. Today, you'll be making candy. This is the first in a series of homemade candy making projects. Today, we are making a sour jelly candy. Now, I struggled with what to call this, so here it is, sour jelly candy. It is the consistency of a gumdrop with the powdered or with the crystallized sugar on the outside, like a Sour Patch Kid candy, but it is made with jelly, with fruit jam and fruit juice. So it's a little bit healthier than a Sour Patch Kid, probably not much. But here you go. It's your first try to make candy, so have fun. The first thing that we're going to do is assemble your recipe and your ingredients. And so the recipe was in the sack that you picked up this week, and you should pull that out so that you know what you're looking at so that you can plan for candy. Making candy is very tricky. There are times where you sit around for a long time, where you have to watch something for a long time in the preparation of candy. And sometimes the process goes so fast you need 4 hands, 6 hands to help with the processing of the candy. So candy is very interesting. It has an interesting time frame to it. So tips to help your recipe turn out best include, number 1, read through the recipe to familiarize yourself with what you will do. So if you know what's going to happen in the recipe, you can determine, all right, I'm going to need the kitchen over here, I'm going to work over here, I'm going to use this area for cutting, I'm going to use this, I'm going to use the stove, I need a clear path. So with candy, sometimes you work with a lot of hot sugar. And so you need to have as many, you don't need any obstacles at all in your kitchen. You need a clear countertop. You need a clear pathway, no toys in the kitchen, no little kids in the kitchen. And try to get your parents out of there too, unless you need them. Number 2, get all of your ingredients together. So as you read this, your ingredients are listed at the top of your recipe. These are all the things that you're going to need. The fruit juice, and so on. The next thing that you're going to need to read the recipe for, as you read the recipe through, you're going to note, I'm going to be using the oven, or I'm going to be using the stove, or I need a couple of spoons, or maybe you need a couple of bowls, or a sieve, which you may not know what that is, but you'll see in a few minutes, or a container to use as your mold to pour it in so it will cool. So read your recipe, familiarize yourself with your ingredients, your utensils you need, and the process, your timing. That's really important when it comes to making candy. All right, so here we are. We have our fruit gel, a sour fruit gel candy. I keep calling it all different things because I'm not sure what to call it. Maybe you can tell me what you think you would like to call it. This recipe was adapted from a Martha Stewart kitchen recipe collection, and we've made it ours a little bit different by making it a sour gel candy. So there's our ingredients. We have a fruit juice. It says 1 1/3 a cup of fruit juice of your choice. Now this recipe has a lot of variation. You can make it however you want to. You look in your fridge, you look in your pantry. What fruit juice do you have? That's what you can use. There's no need to go buy anything special for this recipe. But here is, again, how you process it. You're using 1 1/3 a cup of the fruit juice of your choice, but you're going to divide it into 2 portions. A 2/3 cup portion and another 2/3 cup portion. And they're going to be used at different times in your recipe. The second ingredient that you have in your sack that you picked up from the office here is 2 packets of natural powdered gelatin. These are really small packets. They're 1/4 ounce packets. Natural gelatin is used in many things, many candies. It's used in marshmallow. It's used in number of jellied cakes and candies. But it's used quite a bit. It's also used a lot in craft making and in sports, women's sports particular. If you are a fan of synchronized swimming, with synchronized swimming, you can't have the hair in your face. It has to be put up. And so natural powdered gelatin, what you have is used to make this mass that is put in the swimmer's hair to keep their hair up and ready for performing while they're in the water. It does not dissolve. Natural powdered gelatin does not have any flavoring. So this is, before it turns into Jell-O, it's like this, okay? All right, you're also going to need 1.5 cups of sugar. Again, just like the fruit juice, it's divided into 2 different portions, a 3/4 cup portion and another 3/4 of a cup portion. So get that ready in those portions. The next ingredient you'll see is 1 cup of jam or jelly or preserves. So open up your fridge, open up your pantry. What do you have? You can pick your choice of which jam or jelly that you'll be using. The final ingredient is something that's in your sack, and that is Kool-Aid. It is plain Kool-Aid. It is no sugar added. It's just the plain flavor. And this is the part of the ingredient that's going to give us the sour part. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that later. All right, so you're going to gather all your ingredients and your supplies. And in your sack, like I mentioned, in your supplies are the gelatin and the lemonade Kool-Aid. Now, I have a picture of all my supplies laid out there. I have my sugar already, and I have my saucepan and my measuring cup and spoon and my juice and my jam. I didn't have lemonade Kool-Aid like you do. I wish I did. The closest thing that I have are vitamin C crystals that I happen to have in my supplement cabinet. They're not as good as your lemonade Kool-Aid, but it's very much the same acid. It's citric acid, citric and ascorbic acid. I favor what's in lemonade Kool-Aid, which is citric acid, more citric acid. So it has that really sour taste that you're going to want, like the Sour Patch Kid. So assemble all your things, set it out, ready to go. Plan your path through your kitchen so that you can get started. First thing that we're going to do, according to our directions, in a small bowl, stir the gelatin into 2/3 a cup of the juice. Yes, and I just messed that up. So it's supposed to be 2/3 a cup of the juice, not 3/4 of a cup. So you better watch your recipe and not this. Watch the recipe. So you're going to stir up the gelatin, and it's going to get hard really quick. So stir it well, and then let the gelatin and the juice rest. Now what happens with this gelatin is it undergoes being hydrated. In other words, the water in the juice is turning this powder, okay, is hydrating this powder, and it's called to bloom. The gelatin will bloom. When that happens is the gelatin will actually turn the juice hard, like firm. So you'll see my spoon in the third picture that's resting on top of the juice. I thought my spoon would go into the juice, but it's laying actually on top of the juice. That's how hard and firm the juice is now, thanks to the gelatin. So again, I'm going to tell you the error that I made on this slide. It says, and the slide says, pour 2 packets of gelatin into 3/4 cup juice. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to follow the recipe that's in your bag. It's 2/3 a cup of the juice. Okay, so a good note there. While your gelatin is blooming, in another saucepan, I want you to add 3/4 cup of your sugar to the other 2/3 cup of your juice. All right. So you're going to put that in your saucepan, you're going to stir it well, and you're going to heat it on the stove to dissolve the sugar. So keep stirring your sugar juice mixture on the stove as you gently heat up the juice. and keep stirring. All the sugar should be dissolved. I took a picture of my spoon there. Do you see those speckles on my spoon? Those are sugar granules. And that tells me, oh, my sugar is not all dissolved in my juice yet. It's not ready. So continue letting that sugar dissolve. Heat it up. Keep stirring it. Don't let it boil, but heat it up. And so that all the sugar is dissolved. Once all the sugar is dissolved, you're going to add 1 cup of jam, jelly, whatever you have, the jelly that you have, and you're going to put it directly into your juice sugar. And you can see my 1 cup of jam, my apricot jam that I'm putting in there, and I'm going to stir it all up. And yes, jam dissolves. It will, when it's heated up, it turns back into liquid, and so just keep stirring it. The jam will melt in the heat, and continue to heat the jelly mixture. When your jelly mixture is to a simmering boil, you then add the gelatin mixture to the hot jam. So remember that gelatin that's hard over there in your other bowl? Now it's time to add that to your boiling jelly. So look how firm it is in my picture. I think you'll be amazed when you take a look at that. So you'll pull it out of spoon it out of your little cup there, put it in your boiling jelly, and just keep stirring. It will dissolve. Add the gelatin mixture to the hot jam mixture, bring it to a boil. Keep stirring, don't let it burn. So keep stirring all of the gelatin mixture, and you should have it looking pretty good. When you see little bubbles and when you see it boiling, that's when you take it off. So the red utensil that I have there in the picture at the top on the right side is a sieve. A sieve has a little net or a little screen as part of its need in your kitchen. And when you pour a juice or a liquid or a gravy, or it strains it, and only the liquid goes through and not the pulp or the seeds or the skins or something like that. So this recipe would like your candy to be very smooth. So my preserves, I have chunks of apricot in there, I have some skins of the apricot, and I like that on my jam. But for this recipe, they don't want you to have it chunky. They want it to be smooth. So that's why you use a sieve. So as you pour your hot jam jelly gelatin mixture, you pour it through the sieve, and then you push it down with your spoon so that the smooth liquid comes out, and you capture that in your container that you're going to put in your fridge. That's my mold. So that's what I'm going to pour my mixture through the sieve, and I'm pouring it into a container or a mold. And then after that, I'm going to refrigerate it for 3 hours. So there it is. It's poured out. It's all smooth and soft, and it's hot. So be careful. And it's hot and sugary, so that's really hot. A plastic container works really well here, and place it in the fridge. It needs to stay in your fridge at least 3 hours. I kept mine overnight, and in the morning I got up and I prepared this next step. So the next step is to mix the remaining sugar that you had, the 3/4 cup of sugar, and your entire lemonade packet. So you have the entire lemonade packet to make your candy really a sour candy. If you don't want it to be a Sour Patch candy, if you're not a fan of sour candies, then leave the lemonade packet out. So when we take our candy out and we cut it, this is what we're going to, the sugar, we're going to roll the candies in the sugar, and it's going to make it look like that real sparkly gumdrop. So here it is. I took my mold out of the fridge, and I touched it gently just to make sure it was going to be firm. And it was very firm. It was almost like spongy, like a gelatin, but kind of spongy. It sprung back like elastic. So then you take a knife and you cut strips down and you dig it out and you unmold your pieces. I put that one strip on a cutting board and then I cut it into rectangles or squares. Don't worry about being perfect with your cuts. That's the thing about this crystallized sugar topping. It's going to hide a lot of imperfections, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So as you have your cut jellies, roll your cut jellies in the sugar lemonade mixture, and then be ready to find a nice plate to put them on. So you want to sugar all the sides. You want to roll the jelly in all sides. It's kind of will be a little sticky, and so it will gather those big chunks of sugar. If you have decorative sugar, that would real shiny, glossy, big chunks of sugar, that would be okay too. And then find a nice plate and stack them on there all fancy. And there you have this beautiful sour gel candy that is smooth and sweet. And you can say, oh, it's made with fruit juice. And it's just a really nice little sweet candy that you have made. Congratulations. You're going to keep one. You'll want to keep these refrigerated. I left mine out and I brought them to school, and then I left them in the car for a little bit because I wanted the ladies in the office to try them, and they had melted a little bit. And so don't do that. Keep them refrigerated, and then you can eat them and put them in a baggie if you want to. But there you go. You can do this, the sour fruit gel candy. Show me a picture of yours. Can't wait to see it. Send me a picture. Bye. Happy cooking.